and welcome back to another episode of Empowering Minds Namibia podcast. I will be your host today. My name is Miles Williams. I am a Peace Corps volunteer from the United States. I work in Ongwediva with the Ongwediva Town Council, and my role is I'm an economic empowerment volunteer. So I work with small businesses, learners, and local entrepreneurs. Today I'm here with my guest.
My name is Gracia Silvana. I currently completed my doctorate at Gabriel Dapopi.
My name is Elizabeth Hamkwaya. I'm schooling at Guafo Secondary School, and I've just done my grade 11.
Hello everyone, my name is Salman Ntongo. I schooled at Onoa Secondary School and I just finished my 12 years final nationals.
Great. So all three of these very bright, either high school students or recently graduated, are currently taking part in our Leadership for Wellness training that now we're wrapping up a session and ending with this episode, where we will be talking about the intersection between financial literacy and mental health and wellness. So some of the things we want to talk about are what young people understand about money, how financial stress can affect students' mental health, even when they are not necessarily themselves providers. Okay, let's just get into it. So my first question is, what do you guys wish your schools did to better support young entrepreneurs and increase financial literacy in your schools?
With our schools, I feel like personally, they should have more challenges. I feel like when we engage in financial challenges, like the games that we can have, especially the youth, I feel like we get to learn more knowledge on financial literacy. Because what I understand financial literacy is how you budget, how you manage your money yourself. Because it's a personal thing. Even the little money that we get from our parents, from our friends, or maybe small scale businesses that we run. I feel like for schools to empower more of financial literacy, we should have maybe mini challenges that we get at school, maybe things like baking, get to have different people to bake at school, and then we see who raises more money, or like challenges. I've seen a recent one of where you are put on a project of like raising some chicks, and then you raise the chicks, and they see how you guys actually budget to feed the chicks, what is required, and then you guys sell the product at the end.
I think my school should have made programs where people are more educated. I feel like now the youth spends money quite recklessly and stuff like that, so I think it would be highly appreciated if schools considered more programs that educated people on how to be financially or economically responsible, how to budget, how to run certain businesses, and as Gracia said, by putting in practical work too.
I feel as if my school should keep up with the events. Let me say, for instance, entrepreneurship events which are done by the grade 9. More events should be put to condemners in order for them to know how to run a business and how the expenses needed in running a business and all. And also through that, they're also going to learn how to budget and all, as they already have stated. So schools providing such programs, and also maybe now creating fundraising for like schools where they get learners to sell different products, and just teach them how real marketing actually is in the real world, actually help with financial literacy.
Okay. Those are all great answers. One thing I would add that we'll be doing during this Leadership for Wellness training is working on projects that are coming from the learners. So instead of, you know, hoping and wishing that the school will implement different programs like that support entrepreneurship and financial literacy or planning events, one of the things that we hope to do is give you guys space to work together and come up with your own sustainable programs to create that for yourself and your peers. My next question is, so I feel like when we talk about the youth, a lot of it is intertwined with social media as well. So my question is, how do you think social media can influence or does influence spending habits with learners, with your classmates and yourselves?
I think it can go both ways. It could be good influence or bad influence. We see content creators every day in our lives because we're always on social media apps like TikTok. So there will be good examples of people that are, you know, showcasing or talking about how easier ways and responsible ways of spending your money. And then there will be this bad side of it where we see people, you know, spending a lot. We live in a world where we idolize a lot of stuff. So when you see certain people spending money, affording certain stuff, people once they get money, they want to live that lifestyle. So it can go both ways. So there's the good part where you get educated by content creators that care about how we spend our money as a youth. But then we have the bad part as our generation has tended to normalize this luxurious lifestyle and glorify it. So people tend to have really bad spending problems. I have really bad spending problems. Like, yeah, it's so bad. But yeah, so like as long as it depends on the content you're watching. If you're watching content where people are buying cars or buying certain clothes, you're most likely to, the moment you get money, bam. But if you're watching content creators that, you know, are proper entrepreneurs, know how to educate on how to keep your money, so you're good.
I think I'm agreeing here. It actually goes both ways, honestly. Because, let me say trends. A trend comes on, everybody's having, let me just say the new one, everybody wants an iPhone. Like, everybody wants an iPhone because of the quality of the pictures, apparently. Now, the students, we've done NASFA that provides funds for learning, right? Now, the students, instead of using paid money for something much more beneficial, they're going to save, end up saving that money in order to get an iPhone. They might even end up having debt because of wanting that iPhone just because everybody else wants it. And as she also said again, it goes both ways. So there are content creators which actually teach you how to spend money wisely. So yeah, I think I'm agreeing, totally agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah, when it comes to social media, I agree with them as well. We have a content creator. Her name is Woven. She's also on YouTube. She teaches a lot about finance management. And one of her videos talks about how you can manage your finances in your 20s, most especially now us 20 below. How when we receive income, because most of our source of income is our parents, if you don't maybe have a business on the side, how you can manage that into actually building and growing on the money. Because I feel like one of the greatest problems with us is we get the money but then we don't invest in it. We don't make the money grow. And personally, as someone who has been working with finances, because of my dad works in a finance company. So I feel like all my life I've learned how to work with budgets. Because if he says that we're only spending 500, that's it. Like he's really strict on budget. He doesn't go above, even if it's something that he wants, he wouldn't go above his budget because he has taught me a quote where he said, your expenses cannot be more than your income. That's financial loss. So you have to make sure that whatever you are buying is within what you have. You can't want something that's not within your income. So yeah, with social media, we do have negative influence. Most people that go with is now people that you find inspiring.
We were talking about social media and you you guys pointed out how there's good things and bad things that you see on social media regarding finance and money, and it kind of depends on personal responsibility to make sure that you're not getting drawn into the materialistic side of social media, and instead watching creators, like you mentioned, that show good habits and kind of give good examples. So my next question is, what are some good habits or spending habits that you guys yourself use or you see other students using? Yeah.
I would say investing in yourself. It's like, it's a matter of investing. Let me say you have a bank account, like the main bank account. So now you're gonna create another bank account, but it's just for investing. You can start off with a very small amount, according to like, let me say your monthly allowance or something that you get from your parents. So part of it, you get to like investing into a bank account until time goes on. For like a couple of years, maybe up to 5 years, when you're gonna get the money, it's more than what you've invested into the interest and all. So watching videos, or let me say content that has to do with investing in yourself, or how to invest in yourself and all, how to spend money wisely, is all one of the good things that you could actually do.
Yeah, to a point of investment, a lot of people, especially me, I'm surrounded by a lot of friends, they tend to invest their money into foreign currencies, something called forex, that they do. I'm not really, well, for what I've heard, I think it could also be a good way, for investing in foreign currency and stuff like that. Or some people choose to invest in banks, invest in businesses and companies, and it's just a good way of, because once you invest money, I think that you are able to control yourself to spending it recklessly at that moment and stuff like that. Also, strict budgeting, I think it's really important, like how Lucia talked about that. Like, you should set, and you should be disciplined for you to be able to do this. Like, you should set that I'm only spending $200, that's it. So, investing your money somewhere where you know you can't really get it, and also setting up strict budgets. Like one of the good examples that I've seen content creators actually like push out there.
Yeah, I think the point of financial discipline is very much needed, and what I personally do as well is always have a list of things that I want to buy. I feel like that's better than just having it in your head. When you have it in your head, you go to the shop and you're like, okay, we have to buy bread and oros and milk. You go in the shop and then you were like, oh, but then, this lotion, I've been wanting to try it. It's on sale, let me buy it. But then it wasn't within the budget. So when you don't have a list of the things you want to buy, I feel like you end up going beyond. Or you maybe buy what you want and then you add to it. But when you do have a list, it personally helps me. Because then I'll just go in the shop and I'll be like, okay, this is what I want to buy. And then, I know people think it's very traditional, but I actually go with the list to the shop. And I would like tick off, or like on my phone, on my notes, I'll tick that off. When it comes to investing in the banks, yeah, it's also quite helpful, but like at our age, it's quite hard because there's a lot of requirements when it comes to like investing. They ask for your bank statement. How often does your account receive money? Sometimes your parents is like once in a while, so you can't really invest in it because once that card doesn't receive money in like a month or two, they close it down. So I'd also advise back to our traditional ways of having a money box. The ones that you don't cut, just make sure you don't cut it before it's time. You have it at the beginning of the year and you have yourself a challenge like every end of the week I put in a $20, It also helps you budget that money, and then you always have something to spend it on, like maybe I'm saving for this specific bag that I want to buy, let me say. And you'll be saving until you reach that amount, and then, yeah. That's what some social media influencers do. And also some banks, they also share tips here and there. The FNB, bank window can what, and all that. But yeah, in all, it's just about financial discipline. Actually managing your own money. Because after this high school, we go to varsity where our parents are not there to say, no, I'm only giving you this amount, you are the one to actually break it down that with this money I'll have to buy my groceries, I'll have to buy some clothes, and then put the rest aside in case of emergencies.
Those are all great points. I feel like from what I've seen, people that tend to struggle with their money are usually those who aren't necessarily thinking about the future. And it seems like you guys are already building good habits. You're talking about investing, you're talking about setting yourself up for success along the line. Even budgeting is something that's thinking about, you're worried about what am I going to have tomorrow, the next day. Like I have a paycheck that needs to last for the month, and you're already planning out exactly where that money is going to go. So those are definitely great habits that you guys are building. So you mentioned that soon you guys will be in a position where you're managing more money than you have beforehand, and you'll have less oversight. And you also talked about investing for the future. So my next question is, what are some of your financial goals in the future, and how do you think financial literacy for people that are your age and they're thinking about the future, how do you think that knowledge about budgeting and investing can also affect people's mental health and their wellness in the long term?
The connection between mental health and financial literacy is more of, for the future, you'd want to budget and save in a way where you don't want to find yourself in a position where you are under financial crisis, or where you find yourself, you're always the one loaning money. You always want to be given loans because you've spent your money on unnecessary things. And one of the things that we also struggle with is differentiating between our wants and our needs. That's why we end up into financial crisis. So I would advise people of our age to always look of things more of the needs and not the wants. When you get some money, you should also think of how can I actually invest this money into something that can grow. What I personally did this year, I had my metrics that was coming up. So I was like, I know I would want so many things, but then I was like, with these things that I want, I can't tell my mom to get them because she'll think it's too much. So I came up with an idea of starting a baking business. I was like, I love baking, so let me try and raise some money. So I got some pocket money from my parents, and then I was like, let me put it aside. Made a whole list of what I had to buy for the ingredients and stuff, and then I've been selling. And through that, I've also learned different aspects of you shouldn't be so eager to spend your first income, mostly. Important point, because sometimes you see that the business is booming, like I'm getting orders, but then now because you're getting orders, instead of saving that money and actually focusing on the idea of gaining the money for the metrics, you end up being that I wouldn't say greedy, but you go off the road. You would end up taking from your money that you're supposed to invest in something else. You'll be like, no, let me just take a $10, no, just buy myself an ice cream, no, I'm just buying myself this, and then that leads to now your business going down, because when you have to now regenerate that money to take the profit and also now buy the ingredients again, it goes down. So for people our age, I just say, have a money box if you can manage one. It's really hard. Just make sure you don't get those open ones, because if you can put it in and take it out, it's gonna be hard for you to manage that. And I'd also just say we should not be in competition with others. We should know where we come from. Most of the time, we compare our source of income with other people's lifestyle. Maybe you know that my friend Selma gets $1,000 per month from her parents. I barely get that. I get maybe $200, and then I'd want to always find other ways that are crucial, like end up stealing and what, buying, not buying, but taking money from home to now satisfy that lifestyle that you want. I would also advise the youth to just know where you come from and stick to that budget. If your parents are unable to like afford something and you know that you have a plan of coming up with a small scale business, you should also invest in that. Yeah.
So you asked about future financial goals. I think like looking at me like in the next 5 years or 10, I want to be financially responsible because right now I'm exactly the problem that's being discussed. But yeah, I think it's really important to be financially disciplined and to learn it at this age before we get to a time where it's going to be crucial. Because if I'm gonna spend the way I'm spending right now, I will be bankrupt, debts, loaning every time you see that has to go to the bank debt. So financial discipline, knowing dividing your wants and your needs, like you should always get your needs first and whatever is left, yeah. Investing also financial intelligence, also like how to spend your money, what is worth spending your money on. I think that's important. So hopefully being more to investments, putting my money where I know I can really touch it or where it's more control. I think that's more, yeah. So financial goals just to be disciplined, financially intelligent, being able to understand what is good to spend on at this moment and what is not. Now, how it affects mental health, I think if most of the time when, not most of the time, but at times your financial status can contribute to your mental health. So if you're like someone that is going through a lot, you don't have enough money, you tend to, especially if you play the role of provider in your family, you tend to methods of, sometimes people tend to gamble, and gambling isn't the best. You start taking money from things that are not supposed to be taken out from. You lead to substance abuse, you can even lead to suicide, like a lot of things. So I think, being financially responsible or being financially more intact will highly reduce chances of you being like your mental illness or your mental health being worse. So yes, I do think it really contributes a lot to your mental well-being.
My financial goal in the near years, honestly, my financial goal is just to be financially stable and just be able to afford the life I want. And now, the relationship between financial literacy and mental wellness. I'd look around schools first. Just I'm gonna look around our schools, our environment. We're in a class. We all come from different houses. We're all raised different. There are those who have parents that can provide for them, and those who have parents who can barely provide for them, and those who have parents that cannot provide for them at all. It disturbs the mentality of a learner in class. Because me being in class with my parents that cannot provide for me, but I'm actually grateful that my parents can actually provide. But yeah, being in class, watching others coming with lunchboxes or you're hungry and all, it's not safe for learning, I'd say. It's not a good. So I'd say we need to be financially independent. Even though not independent to the point where we get all our wants, we just need to be able to afford the needs for us to be mentally healthy. But I think this goes hand in hand. Like financial literacy and mental wellness, it goes hand in hand. If you're not financially dependent, I don't think you'll be able to be financially stable. I mean mentally stable. So yeah, I think I'm waiting for that.
Okay. Today, just going along the lines of school, today we talked about stigma and what stigma is. And I feel like in schools, a lot of times, students, like you mentioned, that maybe don't have parents that are able to provide for them in the same way that other students are, can be bullied or looked down upon or stigmatized, like we talked about. Would you guys agree that that is something that happens in your schools?
Yes, it does.
What are some ways that you guys think you can try and negate that stigma or help support those students that are facing that?
I'd say maybe teachers, mostly life school teachers, can get leaders or parents or people from the community to donate for the PE. Or maybe we could inspire them to start up small businesses, something which they already, like, they should provide a service to people. They should like render service that they will be paid for in order to like earn some money for themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, but you know, sometimes when it comes to schools, it goes to a certain extent. Because what I've personally observed, it's not always that our parents can't afford. Sometimes it is true. Sometimes they can't really afford. But then, how I've observed it, another point of view is that we want more. That's one thing I've realized. You'd be at a space where you know that I come with bread and butter. Selma comes with bread, butter, and polony and onion. But then we tend to now go back at our houses, and then with what we go through, it's usually comparison. No, there's a lot of comparison in schools. Like, I feel like the whole moral of we should know where we come from. People don't understand that you might not be financially stable as much as someone else, but then it shouldn't be a barrier to you. And that's where the mindset also comes in. Because I personally go with that, like, it's okay if she can afford to eat out, like let me say KFC and what every day, and I get to cook my porridge and macaroni and what at home. It's okay. I understand. The aim is for us to all get nutrition, you know? However way, we are still eating at our home and we appreciate that. Now with teenagers, sometimes it's just pressure on parents as well. Because even at our school, I feel like, I remember there was a time, like in my grade 12, as we speak, people used to laugh at me at the beginning when I used to come with a lunchbox in school. Because people would be at home and be like, no, auntie, please give me $10, give me 20, and what and what. But I thought to myself, I'm like, sometimes I actually have extra food at home that I can pack and take with at school. But then because we have that mindset of, no, people are gonna laugh, no, lunch boxes are for kids and what, and then we wanna put ourselves at titles where you want to be having $20 every day in your pocket to go eat at the tuck shop. But you can't afford that. That's like you spending almost $100 every day, which is just bad financial decisions as well, because you can't be eating out like that. Like every single day you are at the tuck shop, you're spending so much money, and then in the end, you either regret, or maybe it was even money that you're supposed to save. Maybe your mom said, no, save the money, so you buy yourself a new school bag or something, you end up eating it at the tuck shop. So it's not always that we are not stable, it's just a matter of comparison. I feel like we don't want to really accept our roots like that. We can always make financial changes, but then we shouldn't be pressurized to do things that we're unable to do. So when it comes to schools, that's one thing I commonly say, especially with the tuck shop. I personally pack my lunchbox. We have the lady that sells there, she has a microwave. I'm like, no, I brought my macaroni and what, can you please warm it up for me and stuff. And I personally like that because it saved me from, actually when taking from my savings, I can use that money for something else. I would eat the food from home and it would be fine. But then because of this whole no comparison as well, sometimes it just affects you, especially mentally. It also contributes because we all want to be there. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be there, but you should be doing it within your capacity, what you can accommodate for. So, yeah, the stigmas are comparison, and discrimination also comes through. Sometimes one accepts, but then we have us now that always judge people. The reason why I'm saying us is because we make society. We are the reason why society talks. Society is made by us. So sometimes people accept their backgrounds, but then we come in and judge and mock and be like, no, why are you this? Why are you doing that? Or why didn't you buy new shoes? Why are you still repeating the same outfit and stuff like that? So it also comes in as a bad thing for learners at school, or when we have activities that are taking place at school, like we have shows, entrepreneurship, and they can't buy themselves some stuff. So what she said about the life skills teachers, I feel like it's really nice. I remember back then some schools used to also have aids where if the learner is noticed to not have a proper school shirt, they could be given some money, or the school will just decide to buy the learner a school shirt, get them school shoes and stuff. But then nowadays it's a bit low, usually just now in villages. And I feel like people think everyone in town can afford. But then it's not always the case. We also have people that are in town and they're challenged because most of the money, let me say parents are here paying rentals. She's probably from the village, but she's just reciting here, commuting because of work. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
I completely agree with both Elizabeth and Gracias. At the point of where people are divided because of their financial status, at my school this other time I heard people calling another person an arcade, which stands for rich kid, because they afford a certain lifestyles that they can, and it's just this thing. The problem with comparing each other, especially when it comes to financially, it divides people. So there's no unity whatsoever, and we look at these people. No, and like people have certain expectations for people that can afford more than they can and stuff, and I don't think it's proper, like either ways. And people that discriminate others for not being able to afford the lifestyles that they can, they are saying, oh, just because you have a Nike bag doesn't mean that she can also afford the Nike bag. Just because you have the new classical slides doesn't mean she can also afford the new classics. It's not supposed to be like that. I know, especially trends that come with school is what pressurizes people to get these things, even though they know well that their parents can't afford. So back to what people can do for the people that are actually very, vulnerable. In primary, there used to be, at my brother's school, like when he was a child, there used to be this program where they'll cook like porridge, instant porridge for the learners at bake, so everybody could eat. Accounting for people that aren't able to come with lunch boxes or for potential. So they used to come there and then they cook for the kids and then they give them free meals basically. Also, it could also just be within the students. At my school, at times if someone is, a girl and they do not have pets or cannot afford pets, some people choose to donate stuff, and there are things like BG Foundation that also donate to people that are very vulnerable, clothes, things that you don't need. So I think those type of, it can be a group of people, but it can also just be within yourself, just to be empathetic. Yeah.
I think that's great advice for any other learners that might be watching and are unsure of. I feel like you guys provided some resources when you were talking about the problems as well, and I think that's helpful and encouraging that one, you guys know those resources out there, and then two, for anyone that's watching as well. So those are all the questions from me, but I think now we're going to open up to the audience for one or two questions, if there are any that they would like to ask our panel of learners.
Maybe contribute.
Any questions? You have a question?
Contribution? Anything that you want to add?
I don't know.
Okay, what I want to talk about is one of the problems I've noticed in our youth is that people are too considerate of what other people are doing. Okay, let me give you an example. You are in UNAM, and then you both are getting unanswered loans, and then me here, I came from a background whereby I'm stable. My parents, they provided me with money. And then I decided, okay, now I'm going to buy my iPhone. And then you are there, you know that you came from a poor background, whereby your parents are maybe struggling. And then, okay, get a loan. Then you see, Isaac has an iPhone. Tomorrow, I'm going to get my iPhone also. And then you decide to get an iPhone knowing that back there, your parents need help, and knowing that someone in your family, there's someone who needs help. Okay, what I'm trying to say is that, okay, the money is yours, but it does not mean that you must jump straight to the iPhone just because you see someone else having it. Because I'm sure we've all heard of the quote that said, you must be content with what you have. Meaning you must be satisfied with the means that you possess. You must not go around wanting to possess what other people are having.
I think that, we should give a big thank you to our 3 guests here who were very brave and they shared their opinions and their ideas. And yeah, maybe we can give a round of applause from the audience. I think one of the key points is to remember that understanding your money based on your own means and being financially literate, meaning managing your money well, budgeting your money, and I think deciding what your wants are and what your needs are and working from there is very important to dealing with the main issue that I think the youth here talked about, which is comparison. And I think the best way to deal with that is, being comfortable with yourself and knowing your own money, which it takes, budgeting and thinking about your money in order to reach that point. And yeah, thank you for watching and listening.
Make sure to like, subscribe, do comment what you do to balance your finances.
Hit the notification button.
Yes, and see you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.